All right, joining us next is Mariam Sorond. She's the CEO of NextNav. So please give a warm welcome to Mariam.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see those of you who are investing time in these important topics that we're going to talk about, and also in the other session, amazing, important topics. So thanks for investing the time. NextNav is very pleased to be a sponsor of this event this year. I'm Mariam Sorond. I'm the CEO of NextNav. And I have a very important message for you today. As an industry, I'm asking everyone to come together to solve a national security concern for our nation, and that is a complement and backup to GPS. And you already heard the gentleman before me talk about that. We're going to talk about that more, and I'm going to explain to you why this is a very real concern for us as a nation, and it's very critical. So every day, we take so many things for granted. Sunrise, sunset, our health. We want to be around to see our children grow up. I even take for granted my GPS navigation that gets me out of traffic jams to our office in Virginia. But what if we were in total darkness and not able to find our way? What if you're out hiking and you lose GPS signal? Or worse, what if you have an accident in the woods and GPS is lost and no one can find you? So imagine now, what would happen if our nation's GPS was unavailable? We would be in darkness. Our nation would immediately be in crisis. GPS is vital to so many things we do daily. It's also in our critical infrastructure. 4 billion users worldwide use satellites to find positioning, navigation, and timing, otherwise known as PNT. GPS is vital to transportation, emergency services, the financial sector, agriculture, even our water supplies and power grids depend on GPS. It's critical to our national security. Planes can't get to their destination if there's no GPS. We can't protect our nation if there's no GPS. There's also an economic impact. For every day that we have GPS unavailable, there'll be $1 billion of economic value lost. In second quarter of this year, there was a report on a 400% increase in what's known as GPS spoofing. That was a huge rise from the previous quarter. It affects everything for our aviation, from our aviation to emergency services. Intentional spoofing, jamming, and even unintentional interference impacts GPS. There was a trucker on the New Jersey Turnpike who was trying to cloak his position from his employer. He ended up impacting air traffic control at Newark Airport. Spoofing manipulates GPS signals to mislead. Countries today are using this, either for offense or defense, to misguide drones, guided ammunitions, ships, and planes. There's citizens waking up in countries, and their maps are showing them to be in an entirely different country. Every day, I read about other examples. There was recently a Wall Street Journal article. I got so many calls and texts and emails about this. The report from that is that the number of flights that are impacted from GPS spoofing rose from a few dozen in February of this year to 1,100 flights in August. That's frightening. Russia has demonstrated this by misguiding drones and guided munitions against Ukraine. There was also an OPS report recently published. They surveyed 2,000 pilots. 90% of them expressed concern about GPS issues. The FAA had to reroute air traffic control a couple of years ago and shut down DFW runway for 2 days. Headlines, experts stumped. Today, you even have free mobile apps that can spoof your position. Not having a viable ground component as a backup to GPS in this country is a real national security concern. And one of our greatest concerns should also be China. China's strides in PNT are unmatched. They have a multifaceted approach. They've built out a ground component and have one of the most resilient GNSS solutions in the world. America is losing its dominance in PNT. There's a Bloomberg article recently that said one of our proudest technological advancements in America is GPS. It is our invention. It was first used for military, but it was made available to aviation when a Korean airline flight, by mistake, entered Russian airspace and it was shot down. President Reagan made it available to the aviation industry. And then in 2000, it was available for all civilian uses. GPS has transformed our military flights, the way companies do business, the way we live our lives today. And right now, it's a critical vulnerability. The article said fixing the problem will require leadership. The DOT is doing an incredible job, Department of Transportation, by looking at a system of systems through a complementary action plan for DOT. The article also said US needs to take advantage of the private sector leadership. We need to work together and create and deploy a terrestrial complement and backup to GPS. NextNav has the only viable solution out there to provide a ground component as a backup and complement to GPS. And it comes at no cost to taxpayers. It requires no legislation change. It also unleashes 15 megahertz of spectrum for 5G broadband use. But why does this matter to me? As some of you know in this room, I've been in this industry for 3 decades. I've worked on wireless networks, on mobile networks, cable, satellites, even cloud platforms, open RAN, open architectures. I also served as an advisor, which I'm very fortunate to, the NTIA on CSMAC, and also the FCC TAC. But when NextNav reached out, this was not just a career opportunity for me, it was a calling. I'm an immigrant. My family came here to the US when I was 2 years old. My father did his neurology residency at the Henry Ford Hospital. He was so proud of that name. My mother, a proud retired school teacher. They instilled in me a love for this country. They also give me a few choices. I could be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. My passion for journalism had to kind of die away. But I can tell you, if my father was here today, he would be so proud sector. I'm actually trying to solve a national security crisis to give back to the country that gave so much to me and my family. I have a passion for this. And in NextNav, I get to lead a purpose-driven solution. NextNav also has a great background. We have been leaders in the PNT technology. Department of Transportation recognized us as one of the leaders, we have the technology for PNT, we have the expertise and experience, we have the assets, which are spectrum for ground component networks, and we have the passion. We recently filed a petition at the FCC. We really appreciate the FCC staff and leadership for putting this on public notice, and we got a lot of comments from the industry. I want you to know 3 things about our petition. First, we're the primary geographic licensee in the lower 900 megahertz band. Second, we've asked for tweaks to these rules for creating a terrestrial complement and backup to GPS, again, at no cost to taxpayers. It's aligned with the NTIA's call to have innovative spectrum use. Third, we have support and we have opposition. Our support, public safety. They're living and breathing this problem and concern every day. Our opposition, if you are in this room, I'm an engineer, I would like to have an engineer-to-engineer dialogue with you, and I would like to address your concern. And I would like to work with you to solve this national security concern. We reached out over to 110 organizations to address their concerns. We get the question of why is NextNav doing this? Well, we need to solve this problem. Many organizations don't even know we hold licenses in this spectrum, that we need to slightly modify it to produce this solution. The government would need to spend billions of dollars to build a ground component as a complement and backup to GPS. So, when I started these remarks, I asked you to imagine what it would be like to not have GPS. But this could be a stark reality. We have recommended a solution to this problem. I ask you to come join us. Be the innovators and the leaders that are being called for to solve this crisis for our nation. Thank you.